Battery Bill. Battery Bill. For cameras, computers, cars, or scooters. For trucks, boats, jet skis, remotes. Battery Bill. Battery Bill.
All right, how's it going, everybody? We welcome you to episode 57 here on Hawaii Football Now. Big mahalo to Spectrum Mobile, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, and Battery Bill for sponsoring the show. We record this Wednesday at about 7:45 a.m. Hawaii time. Jordan Helle, Hunter Hughes back with you. And episode 57 comes with old number 57. A little opening drive. We want to welcome J.R. Hensley to the pod, former University of Hawaii offensive lineman, former captain of the squad. Now playing, well, I guess kind of interim, right? He has signed a futures contract with the BC Lions of the Canadian Football League. He will be part of their training camp next May. CFL season for 2022 still going on, playoffs nearing here as we head to October. The young man from your part of the woods, Hunter, a place you're familiar with, he's from Tulsa. Of course, he was part of that memorable 2019 squad that made it to the Mountain West title game. He's kind of seen it all, right? He's been through a lot of the transformations of the program. He's got a keen eye, and we got an interview with him coming up in the second half of today's episode. Mahalo to you, Hunter, for getting him on the show.
Oh man, JR is one of the best off the cuff guys you're ever going to meet. Whether it's talking sports or just talking life, he's just a good dude. After the 2016 Hawaii Bowl, him and I got stranded in Salt Lake City en route back to Oklahoma. Actually, we got caught in a snowstorm together.
Oh boy!
And so it's always fun having one of the boys, but one of my good friends too on the show. Super stoked for you guys to get to meet him a little bit more and hear from him because he's a good time regardless.
Yeah, he touches on a bunch of different topics. Excited to bring you that episode here. That interview coming up a little bit later in the episode. Today's episode 57 is brought to you by Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. As Hawaii's largest credit union, they are committed to serving individuals and businesses through its 14 branch locations statewide and convenient digital banking services. As a leader in providing support for the island, Hawaii USA is committed to strengthening Hawaii's financial wellness and sharing successes with members, local businesses, and the greater community. Visit HawaiiUSAFCU.com. All right, game time. A little rough last week. A little rough. New Mexico State 45, Hawaii 26. The final in that one, as Hawaii actually scored on their opening drive.
We did. Led
it 7-0, and then things went a little south. It was eerily reminiscent of the Vanderbilt game, where Hawaii offense early looked pretty good. Defense gave up a lot of yards on the ground. Rushing game kind of went right at them, gutted them a lot, actually. Trailed 14-7 after the first quarter. We're in it. Remember, they went in as about 4-point underdogs when things closed, but they were down 35-10 at halftime. New Mexico State scores on five of their six first half possessions, all of them touchdowns. For the game, the Aggies ran for 357 yards, an average of 7.9 yards per rush. 438 yards of total offense. They only threw for 81. I don't know if that's a bright spot. One interception. Hawaii did win the turnover battle again. It's interesting. They played two. They've been playing two quarterbacks. They sort of settled on one, this Frakes kid. And interestingly enough, just looking at the stats in some of their earlier games, he was more the passing quarterback, and the other guy was more the running quarterback. And yet he comes in, and this running attack has never looked better. Maybe in that program's history, Jerry Kill is doing a really nice job, honestly, I think, there as the first-year head coach. But Hunter, we were kind of singing the praises of a defense, or at least commending them for improving on what seemed like a weekly progression. They were getting better. What happened?
Man, I don't know if these stats even tell how bad it was. I can recall Mark and John Veneri making a comment in the first half that I think New Mexico was averaging 18 yards a carry in the first half.
There were some big runs.
We've suffered some brutal losses on the ground, but I can't recall one that felt harder than this past one. I mean, We knew our D line was going to be a source of concern with everything happened this past offseason with transfer portal and people moving away from the team. But this was kind of the first example of kind of seeing some of that concern. And we've kind of ridden and died off of Panay Pavi'i's success on defense for the most part. He's been the backbone of our defense. And if you block him, it kind of shows you can be successful. And that's kind of what happened this last week. So, but yeah, I agree with you. Up until this past week, the defense has kind of been the bright spot for us, at least keeping us in ball games, keeping it close. I don't know if I'd say that they're due for a week to put their feet up, but it kind of felt like that.
Yeah, and then look, bye week this week, right? And it kind of seems like it comes at an opportune time for the University of Hawaii. But yeah, the defense, right? And they've struggled against run first teams. They've given up, but Vanderbilt and Michigan, you felt were going to be different animals than New Mexico State. I was really impressed with that offensive line. They had a good offensive line last year as well. That's kind of been one of their strengths over the years. But it just they've struggled, right? Against Duquesne, they gave up some yards, and Duquesne was kind of a run first team, but they were able to come up with stops. They were able to come up with turnovers. After the bye week, they play a San Diego State team, and we know what San Diego State's MO is, right? Offensively, in terms of running the football. So yeah, it just seems like, hey, look, you're going to give up yards. That's one thing that they've surrendered over the course of the season, but they've been able to at times come up with stops. They've been able at times to come up with some turnovers, like we saw the week prior against Duquesne. They had the one interception against New Mexico State, but it wasn't just the rushing yards, right? It was the gash plays. I mean, plays right up the gut where guys are barely getting touched, if not untouched, into the end zone or for 30, 40 yards. I mean, it was kind of eye-opening in just the way that it was so porous, right? It wasn't just a ton of yards. It was how they got them. And so, is it one of those, Hunter, that it's like, look, man, there was something wrong schematically, or hey, they just chalk it up to guys being in the wrong spot at the wrong time. And you kind of flush that and get back to it, or is this a sign of concern for something larger going forward?
Yeah, it's tough to tell. From what I could find online of the highlights, it looked like we were trying to bring pressure to try to get to him in the backfield and not let them get up and block safeties. But that only works if you gamble correctly. So some of that can happen. But again, I'm an offensive kind of a minded football connoisseur, and 26 points is just a hair better than one score a quarter, or not even. It's not even one score a quarter. So that to me is actually the tell that of how successful our defense is going to be, because it shows that we aren't holding on to the ball for very long, and we're not doing what we're supposed to do on offense. We have to score more points, Jordan. If you score more points than the other team, you're going to win regardless of what your defense does. That's just good old fashioned math right there for you. So I don't want to slam the defense too hard, because they have bailed us out this season. And the tail of the tape for UH in general has been how poor our offense has been.
Yeah, it was a defense that I don't think people expected to surrender yards on the ground like that. Panay Pavi'i led the way statistically, 7 tackles. Meki Pei had 6 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, just the only tackle for loss for the team in total on the day. And that's been kind of one of their downfalls as well, is that they haven't been able to really get into the backfield with much regularity, whether it's tackles for loss, whether it's sacks, and kind of put teams behind the chains. That's been something that's been a little bit of a struggle. Colby Wyatt has come on the last couple of weeks. He had 5 tackles. Verdo Edwards had the interception and 4 tackles. It's kind of interesting because for this group, and I think for the defense, if they're undermanned, right? They're a little undersized in a lot of ways, especially up front. And so you kind of think that they have to force turnovers, right? They're a defense that's probably going to need to take the ball away to be effective because, yeah, maybe they'll give up some yards. Maybe they'll be undermanned or undersized. But if they can take the football away, and I don't know, as you point out, that may have been part of the thought process for this defensive staff is like, hey, maybe we got to take a few more chances, try to turn the ball over a little bit more, provide a little more pressure, speed the other team up. But it does appear that, hey, maybe they got to find a way to be a little more advantageous or be a little more proactive in taking the football away if it is going to kind of be this way where, they're going to surrender some yards, they're going to surrender some points, but if you can steal some possessions, that might be the recipe. But I don't know if that's something you can necessarily scheme up or coach up in terms of, hey, look, we're gonna try and force more everybody wants to force turnovers, right? That's beautiful on the defensive side of the football, but is there a way that they can kind of, emphasize that a little bit more?
Oh man. I mean, it's kind of just one of those things where we say it all the time. We're not that big on our defense, and so if you have guys with size or ability on the offensive side of the football that can block us, I mean, the scouting report for UH is block them well. You're going to run all over them, and then blitz them like crazy and put whatever quarterback that we have in there on his heels, and they'll turn the ball over. That's kind of how teams have beat us this year. I wish it wasn't the case. And thankfully, we have a bye week right now where both our offensive and defensive units can kind of reassess, lick our wounds, and get ready for conference play, because that's what we've been saying from the get-go is the second half of the season is when we'll truly find out what we're made of.
Yeah, that's the nice thing, right? They can kind of press the reset button because, look, they're 0-0 going into conference play, and that's a reality of the situation. Offensive is kind of interesting because, look, honestly, they probably had their best statistical game of the year. 150 rushing yards for this group, 4.1 yards per rush. They threw for 261 yards, 411 yards of total offense. I'm pretty sure that's the first time we've gone over 400 yards on the season. No turnovers, 6 penalties, but 39 yards marched off. It's not terrible. They threw their first passing touchdown of the season. Braden Shager got the start, went the distance, 22 for 39, 261 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, no picks, took care of the football in that regard. They were able to, get some guys open. Shager was self-critical after the game and some of the post-game media availability, right? He felt he missed some throws. I think that was evident. There were some throws missed that could have resulted in extended drives that could have resulted in points potentially. And so, he goes out there, he puts up the best numbers of the year, but still leaving a little bit of the door ajar in terms of, hey, nobody's really kind of taking it and run with it, albeit they were maybe throwing some different looks offensively. Dedrick Parson continues to play well, 4.3 yards per carry, 69 total yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 4 catches, 19 yards. Tylan Hines, I like to see him getting a little more runs, 6 runs, 39 yards. It's 6.5 per touch. Jordan Johnson, 5.8 yards on 4 carries. Najee Bryant, 3 rushes, 12 yards. And then in the pass catching game, Caleb Phillips, the tight end, right, where they're kind of, they're moving him out to the slot a little bit more, getting him involved in the passing game a little bit. 8 catches, 138 yards, right? Wow. He and the other Phillips, James Phillips, 3 catches, 40 yards. Dior Scott, 4 catches, 31 yards. Jalen Waltall had the touchdown reception, 2 catches, 23 yards. Jordan Murray, 1 reception, 10 yards. We saw him playing out wide a lot. They're trying to find combinations. They're trying to find guy or spots for guys in whatever wrinkles they're throwing out there. And so, it's the most productive we've seen the offense, Hunter, all season long. The one tough part was, hey, they scored on the opening drive, right? That's all you can ask for. They got 7 on their first touch, but next thing you know, they're down 14-7. Next thing you know, they're down 35-7. And there wasn't a whole lot of time for this offense, which was, as we understand it, throwing in some new wrinkles to really kind of get anything going. Next thing you know, they were down so quickly, which I'm going to imagine didn't quite help an offense that is, trying to work in some new things.
Yeah, Timmy said it this past week, how they were wanting to spread the field a little bit more, get the ball down the field and take some more shots. And that first drive looked beautiful. And I felt like they were able to do that right off the bat. I don't know exactly where they got off course with that, but with any drastic offensive scheme shift, it's going to take time to kind of flow into that for QBs and receivers, tight ends to get in sync with each other. You can tell that at least, Caleb Phillips and Shager seem to be clicking well with that stat line right there, 8 receptions, 138 yards. When you look at our total offense though, Jordan, we're only 20 yards shy of what New Mexico State was able to put up there. The score should have been closer if we're going to look just at the stats. So the issue for us is not moving the ball, it's getting it in the end zone. We can't win football games if we can't seal the deal.
Yeah, that's the key, right? And as much as we have loved the running game up to this point throughout the season, it hasn't necessarily translated into scores, right? And they need to find a way to get into the end zone. We've harped on the fact that this offense just always sort of has failed to get jump started. They only had 2 3-and-outs in 10 drives this week, which is a lot better than previous weeks. They scored on 5 of their 10 offensive possessions in the ball game, 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals, the 27 points. They did, or 26 points. They went for 2, right? At one point, I believe it was. So there was progress, in my opinion. It wasn't good enough, obviously. There wasn't good enough. Again, there were some missed throws. It was an offense that I think is still trying to find that balance in terms of really emphasizing the running game, but also getting a vertical threat in the passing game down. I'm curious to see, again, what it looks like against San Diego State because of the bye week, and I think it comes at a really nice time for this group. But there were things to be encouraged about offensively, at least kind of taking it in from my perspective, but your kind of general thoughts there, Hunter.
I mean, I completely agree. I appreciate you bringing it back to a positive note, because we did see a little bit of a passing game being created from this offense. We've, man, I hate that we keep saying this about this team, but we've been riddled with the transfer portal. We've been riddled with injuries at the wide receiver position. Zion Bowens and Jonah Pinoque have been 2 of our main receiver targets that are both presumably out for the year. And at least with Jonah Pinoque, I'm not sure of the current status of Zion Bowens, but we're having to lean on a lot of different guys to get the job done for us in the passing game. So seeing guys like Caleb Phillips step up, same with Dior Scott and James Phillips. I'd love to see us use big number 7 Jordan Murray a little bit more on the outside, just with some back shoulder balls. I know that Timmy's going to try to use him a little bit more in the passing game, specifically in the red zone. I would love for us to start using him a little bit more, because you cannot teach big, Jordan. You just can't. But it definitely a positive note seeing us move the ball in the air a little bit.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We'll have a lot more next week as well when we kind of lead into the San Diego State game. But we are up against the halftime break here, and we got a nice little extended interview with J.R. Hensley on the other side. We'll be back with a little bit more here on episode 57.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second half time here with our guy, J.R. Hensley, who is doing all kinds of things, all kinds of exciting things. JR, welcome to the show, my man. We really appreciate you taking out a little time, because I know you're a busy man right now.
No, I appreciate it. Honestly, thank you so much for having me on. Any chance I get to talk Hawaii football, it's I'm in there. So
yeah, we'll get to Hawaii football here in a sec, just for sure. But man, you've been on quite the journey, right? Oklahoma to Hawaii to all league in the indoor football league to the CFL. What's the latest, man? We got a hard time keeping track of you. What are you up to these days?
So right now, I was just in the indoor football league, and I played with the Texas team, the Frisco Fighters. And if you're unfamiliar with the indoor football league, it's just arena ball. It's just the highest league of that one. And at the end of the year, finished up the season about a month ago. And then a couple weeks ago, I signed a contract to go play with the BC Lions in the CFL. I'm really, really excited to get back outside. They made it official like a week or so ago. So I'm just trying to watch as much film as possible. The CFL is I think a little bit more similar to the NFL in rules and things like that when compared to the IFL.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a completely different game too. They do things a lot differently over there. They line guys up a yard off the ball. Their downs are different, and same thing with the size of the field too. So I'm learning that, watching some games on that, and then I work for a startup company. I work for a startup company in downtown Dallas. It's where I'm living at right now. I'm in the studio currently. I personally create content and go live on shows. We typically go Monday through Friday, but we've had a lot of growing pains and things like that go on. Anything typical with a startup, but we're trying to get the ball rolling. And our biggest thing is like during college football season and the NFL, obviously, but my side of it's college football. So emphasis is, we're gearing towards going to college game day experiences that aren't what college game day picks, but the teams that usually get snubbed out of it. Like for instance, we were planning on going to Kansas last weekend. This weekend right now, we're still up in the air about going to the Kentucky Ole Miss game. So it's just nice. I'm trying to, use my Rolodex to, have all the people that I've met throughout the sports circuit, because football is super small. If you really think about it, football is super small. So it's been nice. It's been different. It's been challenging. It's something fun that I've always wanted to get into. But it's what I'm doing now, and I really enjoy it.
Bro, that's so awesome, man. And for those listening, this is episode 57. So it only fits that we have the big number 57 on the show.
There we go. Oh, he's got the jersey. There we go.
There we go.
All black, baby.
Bro, that's so awesome. And with everything that you have your hands in, I just wanted to say how proud I am of you, bro, of just continuing to stay persistent and to not give up, bro, with the injury at the end of your career here at UH, and seeing doors open for you, man. It's really awesome. How is the quad feeling these days?
It's good, man. Yeah, I appreciate you asking, man. Thank you so much. It was like a long process, bro. 7 months of actual rehab, and then 5 more months of lifting and trying to get somewhat strong. In that last year, I was super heavy in my senior season, and that's probably attributes to why I got hurt. But I was like 340 pounds.
You were super strong. That's what you meant.
Super strong. Yeah, exactly. And so when that happened, I didn't really know exactly what would happen with football, but I did know that I wanted to give myself the best chance of, first learning to walk normal, then learning to run normal. And then it was like, oh, okay, like what can I do? What can I not do? And I dropped down to like 280 pounds. And I was as light as I could remember being since like middle school.
Yeah. Ready, man.
I know. It was crazy. And then, I just got back into it, bro, with the IFL. And, I just kind of, it's the grace of God, man, just being able to go in there and play again. Like I never really knew exactly what I'd be able to do again. But now it doesn't give me any problems. I've had 2 full seasons, and I have learned a lot. I feel honestly this is my best play, what I've got going on right now.
Awesome.
So I'm just trying to keep the dream going and see how far I can take this thing, man.
That's awesome, bro. The IFL has been kind of a landing place for a bunch of UH football players. Have you run into some past alumni and past boys?
Yeah, I have, man. I ran into there's a few. It's weird because COVID has there's just a lot of people that have because they didn't get their pro days or things like that. There wasn't a lot of outlets for guys, and now there's new leagues and things that have opened up that are giving guys more opportunities. But at the time, it was really NFL, CFL, or arena football. There was nothing else for it. So I did manage to run into a handful of UH guys that I never thought I would see again. Good dudes, man. Quentin Pedroza, he was with the Tucson team. Ran into Mefi. Yeah, exactly. Mefi Kolomatongi, defensive lineman. He is one of the biggest characters and mouthpieces I've ever seen. He's hilarious, but I love seeing him. He was in Vegas. So was Kalen Hicks. Really good dude, leader on the field. He's going to end up having some success. I think he'll be outdoors pretty soon. I'm drawing a blank here. I played at Frisco. We brought in Cole Laval this past season. Wow. And playing side by side with him again was like one of the greatest experiences I've had in definitely in pro ball for sure, because Cole's one of those guys he was a great friend of mine and an awesome player when he came to Hawaii. And I think there was just like this unspoken sign of respect between us two, to where, like, you know, playing with him, he's very talented, and I felt like when you're talking about competing and everything like that, I feel like I would look over and I would see Cole, and I'm like, all right, whatever Cole's doing, I'm doing. Whatever I'm doing, Cole's doing. And so it was, you know, that was the edge that it pushed in college. And then I remember my coach hit me up and was like, hey, Cole, he was just with BC, but now he's a free agent. Like, we're thinking about bringing him in. I said, absolutely, no question, bring Cole in. Get him in here as quick as you possibly can. I'll call him. And I was like, so I ended up calling him, like, you know, and he was like, and so he ended up coming in, and it was the same thing. I mean, it was literally like we picked up right where we left off. And, you know, so many things have happened since I've been outside of college. So, like, you kind of think, you kind of think in your head, like, did I imagine some of these things that happened in my life, or these feelings like that, because it had been so much time has passed or whatever? And then you get a guy like Cole come in there, immediately set the tone, is a baller. If he would have played the full season, he would have gotten All-IFL, no question. But to have him back in there it just brought all these feelings back from being, yeah, it was cool, man. It was super cool. Yeah, a lot of good guys coming in from the IFL.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I imagine a lot of that chemistry. You guys had a really good season, right? I mean, the top record in the league. I know it didn't quite pan out in the playoffs for you guys. Not to bring up a sore spot or anything like that, but no, I got to imagine a lot of that chemistry played into the fact that, I mean, you guys had a really good season.
Yeah. I just, you know, I think that was the main thing, was like everybody vibed with each other. And it's hard to do in professional ball because, you know, you're not playing for the home school anymore. You're not, you know, it's a lot of personal agendas going on, as well as, like, you know, you're trying to make it out. Everybody's trying to make it out and do something for themselves. But with this team, what was so exciting was, you know, we would have barbecues every other day. We would hang out at the apartments together. You know, there was no internal beef between each other. It was like, oh, bro, like, I got you. If you're down, I'm gonna pick you up, you know, like that. Cool. And I think a lot of that, you know, was things that helped me, was just things that I saw in college personally, that, like, at Hawaii, that's why, you know, a good Hawaii football team is a team that the locker room is extremely stable and your brothers are looking out for each other, you know. And that was like, I attribute that to the most success that we had beyond, you know, we had great coaches, we had great talent, but the biggest thing overall is what happens in that locker room. And that was, you know, that's exactly what happened with Frisco. We couldn't get the job done over there, which was tough. Really hard pill to swallow, because we were the favorite over everybody, and we lost to a team we'd already beaten twice. So that was just a really, really hard one. I'm just glad it wasn't a bus ride, because I don't know if I would have made the bus. It was a home game, and I just went straight home. Yeah, but
yeah, that's a tough one, man. And you know, it's you mentioned earlier, and I was kind of curious. I wanted to get this question in, just arena football in general. You likened it to fighting in a phone booth. I've seen you tweet about that. Just kind of share with us what that really is like, if you can you can elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, so I think if you're a college player or you're used to the outdoor game, and for me, I got hit up on Facebook. That's how I got into the whole arena ball thing. So I would get these messages from arena. I'll just back up and kind of explain my initial experience with how I got into it and how I saw it for the first time. I got basically, when I got hurt, there was no options out there for me. I had arena football teams. Like I said, they're a tight-knit community. They all work through Facebook. That's how they connect with each other. That's where they share the highlights, things like that. I would get in college these messages from coaches in a random arena leagues all the time, and they would just be like, "Hey, you want to come play arena?" Wouldn't even know if I was still playing college or whatever. They just would send messages out. So when I got hurt, I had time to get right, get back, and then when I decided, hey man, like I really ought to get back into football and figure something out, I had no options. So I went back into my Facebook messages and I saw these people who messaged me years ago saying, hey, arena football, whatever. I'm like, all right, I'll go and check one. So I checked a team, the Columbus Lions, and they were based out of Georgia. And I went to their roster and I looked down at their roster, and they had a guy there that I hosted on his official visit over at Hawaii. And I was like, all right, cool. I know this guy. I'm going to call him. I'm going to see what's up. So I called him and he's like, yeah, man, like I signed there, but I don't think I'm going to go there. I think we should go to one closer to home. And I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm totally down with that. Like, I just don't know how to do that. And he's like, I'll send you a number, whatever. So I get in touch with this guy named Pat Pemmel over there at, he was with Wichita. And now the arena teams, it's professional, but there's certain levels of professionalism and unprofessionalism that goes on, especially in the smaller leagues. And before I even hit the IFL, I was in a league called the CIF, and I was only in there for one game. And what had happened was I signed this contract with this team, and they were going to fold. So I said, I'm not going there. You can't make me go there. I'm going to just go to this team that's literally 45 minutes from my house. They're called the Oklahoma Flying Aces. They're in Enid, Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma, and I had only been there maybe 3 times, 4 times in my life. It is out there in the States.
Podunk.
Yeah, Podunk, exactly. So I call this guy. I said, hey, look, this is my situation. Do you want me to come play? He's like, oh yeah, like, oh, just come to our intro meetings and I'll be there. I was like, cool. So I go over to that main office headquarters area, and I'm like the last dude who walks in. He doesn't tell me a time. He just tells me the day. I go in there, and I'm like the last dude in there. And I look around, and everybody's just kind of staring at me. And I'm looking at like, teachers and like just regular civilians. And then some of them were like a handful of ball players too, but like older, like much, much older than me. And so I'm like, oh, like what's going on? Like, this is crazy different, right? And then he brings us in. He's like, yeah, it's a kid from Hawaii. I want to tell you guys about. Awesome. I'm going to bring you guys down to the field and show you what the field looks like. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'd never seen an arena football field before. And I go down into this area, and they have these, it's a basics, anything from like, this is a smaller arena. This isn't like, the Arizona Rattlers, they play at the Suns arena. So it's a very, it's amazing, but this was completely different. So I walk in there, there's not even walls at the time. Things are inflatable, the turf, we lay down the turf ourselves. And then the thing will slide out from under you because they're connected so basically like at that level in the CIF, it's a plate of asphalt. I mean, not asphalt, like concrete. It's like a concrete plating at the bottom of any stage, right? And then you take these slivers of turf and you put them down, and they're Velcroed together to keep them there in place. So with this place that I was at, it was really tough. I went and played one. It was really, really tough. I went and played one game. We drove 17 hours to Gillette, Wyoming in Sprinter vans.
Wow.
And they wanted me to drive, and we ended up getting down there, and I still hadn't seen the full field like the way it was set up, right? So like, because there just wasn't time for us to put anything up. That place ended up filing for bankruptcy anyways. I won't get into that, but we go into the Gillette, Wyoming field, and the barriers, of the walls are made of plywood and held down by sandbags, and they have these tiny like pads on the out, like these little dasher pads on the outside of them, and if you hit them, they'll slide out from under you, and you'll go boom on the concrete. And this is the CIF, so I go out there, and I'm like, and this team's having me catch balls and passes and things like that in the game. Like, I kid you not, all that stuff. And so seeing that atmosphere for the first time was just like, like, what is going on? Like, this is completely different than anything I've ever seen before. I don't know what this is, But then I finished the game, and I get a phone, like literally immediately as the game ends, I get a phone call, and it's from my coach over at the Frisco Fighters, and he was with Spokane at the time in Washington, and Spokane shocked, and he called me, him and the offensive line coach Marshall. They called me like, "Hey man, we see you out there catching passes and stuff. Go ahead and shut that down. You don't need to play in that league anymore. Come up to the IFL and come play. It's a better atmosphere for you." And it was. I went over to Spokane immediately after. I told all the boys. All the boys were like, leave, go now. So I went over there and played in the IFL. And it's cool. Like, it's super cool. The turf's nicer. You got more padding. Like, it's like real turf, padding for most places. Different teams have different standards or whatever, but the dasher pads are real. You're usually playing in a hockey rink type of thing, and they throw dasher pads over the hockey rink that are like several inches thick, and it hurts. I mean, don't get me wrong, like hitting the wall hurts really bad. Everybody that goes in there that plays arena football will get humbled by the wall at least one time, and you'll view it completely differently. I always said it's like when I was in Hawaii and everybody had a moped. Everyone, okay? And it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, how responsible you are, whatever the case may be. At some point in time, that moped is going to check you. And whether you see it coming or not, and you will never view that moped the same again. And it's the same way I feel with the wall. You hit that thing hard one time, you're like, all right, that's where it's at. I won't forget it. It's right there. Like, that's just how it goes, man. Like, now, it's crazy.
I will say getting checked on your moped is nothing like getting hit by J.R. Hensley. I was on that team one time, and that guy put me through the turf, and that was just not as much fun. Let me just put it out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I will say, when you see it for the first time, your eyes go like this big, and you're like, what the world? Like, and it's 50 yards, so like it's not like there's anywhere to go. Like it's such a personal game. Everything is more one-on-one. Are you better than that guy across from you? Because it's all one-on-one battles. It's eight guys, not 11 guys. 3 offensive linemen instead of 5. So, and everybody's head up. There's no shades. There's no games, none of that. Like, you're just going head up with this dude, nose to nose, lined up every play. And it's like, can you win or are you going to win or are you going to lose?
It's awesome. JR, with you kind of on the upward rise now with your career and getting a chance at the CFL. What's next for that? Is their season over now at this point?
No, so they're late in their season right now. They're going to end up getting ready for playoffs at some point. They just clinched their playoffs, actually. So they're getting to that end of the season. I signed a futures contract with them, so I will be. That just says like I'm coming into camp with them on a roster spot in camp in May. So, that was an awesome situation. I've been waiting for a call like that for, my whole life. So that was really an awesome experience. I was glad, and it's really cool to know what I'm working towards for the upcoming season, envision it. And, I'm no stranger about going to a new place and going and just kind of diving into it with, I feel like I'm an opportunist. When there's something that I feel is good for me, I'm going to take it. And that was the situation with the BC Lions. I absolutely had to take it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That beard is meant to be outdoors. The indoor league cannot contain it, man. So we're super stoked for you. For the listeners at home that may not know this, we need a Peter Griffin sighting on this show.
I forgot you asked me to do that at some point in time.
That's it must
amazing.
Be done.
Okay. All right. What would you like to hear? I gotta think of like let's see, that's more disappointing than fruit striped gum. Or oh hi Lois. Yeah, I can do random voices like that. I had a lot of free time as a child. I could do the Patrick from SpongeBob. To the owner of the white sedan, you left your lights on. Wee woo. Wee woo. Yeah, so those are just like the basic stuff.
Bravo. Man. It's no surprise you have your own show now, man. We knew it was coming.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're trying all new things all the time,
Yeah, where can we find you? Like, what's the platform? When are you on? Give us the deets, man.
Yeah, so I work for the company called The Sports Report. We go live on YouTube. You follow us at The Sports Report. We're pretty big on TikTok too, if you want to follow us there. I basically like to, we go live shows for 2 hours, 10 to 12. Like I said, we'll be back on soon. There's been a lot of growing pains and things like that going on, but we have a lot of content that we push on Instagram, Twitter, and we're actually just now getting started with the Twitter. But TikTok and Instagram are big for us. And yeah, we stream on YouTube. Go follow us over there. It's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of fun. We cover sports entertainment. And, and we're just two guys right now trying to figure everything out. And it's a lot of fun. We're lucky we get cool guests in here. We had DeMarcus Ware come in early on in the show. And that was a lot of fun. We're trying to be big in Dallas first. We're based out of Dallas, downtown area. That's right there. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I'm learning a lot, man. Learning a lot. Very thankful to be in this opportunity. Yeah. I typically do shows. I'll co-host a show or I'll be in segments of the show. But a lot of times too is I'll go out and do man on the street interviews and questions and things like that. Was recently in Austin, Texas for the Texas-Alabama game. That was wild. A lot of 6th Street's always jumping, but I love interacting with people, getting some opinions and hot takes. I personally don't like giving super big hot takes, but I love getting other people to give me super hot takes. It's a lot of fun, and the kids are, the college kids are really into that type of stuff. So, it's a fun atmosphere to be a part of.
No, that is awesome. And before we get you out of here, you got the Hawaii shirt on, you got your jersey up over your shoulder. I assume you're still keeping up with the program.
Always, absolutely, yes.
What's kind of your thoughts on Coach Timmy and the new start here? Look, obviously everybody knows the win-loss record and where it's sort of been at in terms of results on the field. But what have been your kind of impressions, kind of observing things here this season and the last couple?
First and foremost, I love what Timmy Chang's trying to do. I love the atmosphere that they got going on. I haven't heard a single bad thing when it comes to talking with some of the guys who I played with at one point in time that are still currently playing over there, just because of COVID and how everything worked out. There's still guys that I play with and keep in touch with. You got Il Manning, you got Micah, you got Leaky, you got Blessman. You got Panay, it's nuts how many guys that I know still over there, and they're buying in, they're bought in. The thing is you have, I think you said, is 53 new men on the roster. Hawaii got hit super hard during the Todd Graham era with the transfer portal, with all the restrictions and things that happened that made it really difficult for us to thrive in a time like that. And so, these are, I hate to say it, we're just in a rebuilding phase right now. That's just what it is. I think that, the boys are going to continue to get better as the year goes along. I'm happy that they got the dub against Duquesne. I've been in the big house. I know exactly what that's like. I was happy they scored a touchdown on them boys because we couldn't even do that in the year that we were, you know what I'm saying? Like, we, in a year that we had a lot of talent and things like that, we couldn't even, if we didn't have Rigoberto Sanchez, we wouldn't have scored in that game either. So I don't think that is, something that the boys, I don't even think they should hang their hats on too heavy. I think you should look at highlights on games like that where, I see Blessman go out there and make a sack out there, or you get an interception or things like that. That's exciting. Obviously, they're trying to find out what their identity is offensively. I think that everybody expects the run and shoot, and it's Hawaii identity and things like that. But at the same time, then trust in Timmy Chang, trust in the boys. They're going to get it done. I think that as the year goes along, they're going to do nothing but get better. Obviously, we've seen success in the recent years of Hawaii going to bowl games, winning things like that. We're trying to get Hawaii back to that respective spot. We want to be a top 20, 25 program.
Yeah.
We want to be, capable of doing that. And I think we'll get back to it. But right now, I think the biggest thing is, keep that locker room strong, keep the boys tight, buy into what the coach is saying. He's a young guy, young head coach. But if you got somebody in there that's a player's coach and, they believe in you, man, you're just going to spark something, and something's got to give. Something's got to click. Everybody wants Hawaii to be great. I want Hawaii to be great. Yeah. They're going to get better throughout the season, no question. But I know how it goes. I know how it goes. Don't jump on them so quick when things are a little rough at first, because sometimes that's just how it is. By the end of the season, you could be very, very surprised at how these boys end up.
JR, I equate this season to when we made the transfer from Norm Chow into the Rolovich era. You were a part of that program. And the one difference, though, is all of our playmakers and all of our studs that we still had from the Chow era now left the team. It's the exact same situation where we're having to adapt to a brand new coaching regime, a new way of going about stuff, a player's type of coach where you felt like you can go and talk to this guy, that Rolo was your friend, that you felt like he was fighting for you in your corner. However, all of the guys that we were used to seeing first team at each of the positions now jumped out of the program. And so it's a really tough situation for this coaching staff trying to make a positive thing out of it.
Oh yeah, no, this isn't an easy job right now. Coach Chang has his plate full when it comes to bringing guys in, and he has to be heavy on recruiting at the same exact time he's trying to make his head coach debut, because it's so vital to the future success of the program due to, like you said, the transfer portal and things like that. So we have. Yeah, you're absolutely right. When I think about this season, I think all back to the switch from Coach Chow to Rolo, and it wasn't super smooth at first. There were several times when we struggled, but like you said, we had seniors in the locker room. We had guys who'd been around the program, believed in the program, were tired of losing, things like that, and it was just. It was different. That was the heart and soul of the team. And so right now, I think the identity part of Hawaii football, that is going to be the biggest play in the future for upcoming games, for how everything works, because it's so important. Yes, we have new guys stepping up to the plate and trying to be the face, trying to bring guys together, and that's great. That's the only way we can go, is onward and upward. We can't look back at the guys that we lost. We can only look forward to the guys that we bring in and the guys that we still have. So I agree with you. Yeah, not super easy for Coach Chang at all for his situation. But you know what? I can't think of anybody else that I would want to put up to the task right now other than Coach Chang.
No, that I think it means a lot coming from alums, right? That have sort of been through it, been on that campus, gone through the rigors of it all, and we're all kind of pulling for Coach Chang and seeing how this all plays out. But JR, hey man, this was awesome. We think we went way longer than we asked you for, so we appreciate it. We know we could rap with you all day. Stay healthy, man. We're looking forward to you getting up north in next May. I know it's a little ways off, but we'll be sure to check out some of your content as well, and hopefully some of the listeners here we can redirect your way as well.
Guaranteed, man. I appreciate it. Hunter, thank you so much too, man. You guys, hey, at some point in time, I got to get you on the sports report.
Would love to, man.
Got to get you on the sports report. But I really appreciate it. I know how it goes. I just love being a part of it. Thank you guys so much for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks, brother.
Much love, JR. Keep killing it, man. Proud of you.
Appreciate it, bro. Proud of you too.
Yeah, bro.
Go Bows, baby.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, that was a lot of fun, Hunter. JR can rap, man, and we know he loves this stuff. You can see why he's sort of built for the podcasting content game. He's got stories for days. He can break it down. He's still just as passionate as ever about the program. But that was a lot of fun, and we'll have to catch up with him again down the road.
Oh yeah, and the poetry of getting number 57 on episode 57 is we didn't plan for that. It's just
we're all about synergy here,
Yeah, man. Super stoked to see the success for him though, and things happening for him. I've seen it happen with a lot of guys. They get injured, they get hurt, and some guys fold, other guys persist. So I'm glad he's more the latter in this situation.
Yeah, he really has battled. Getting to some of the comments here via Facebook and YouTube. Big shout out to our guy K-Love, who's been a regular commenter, Gary as well. And then Christoph, who commented on our YouTube episode of last week's show from the stadium in Las Cruces. He said he was out there. He said, UH in big trouble, first quarter, Las Cruces. I'm in the stadium. Yeah, it didn't get a whole lot better after that. That was that fair off. But hey, right on, Christoph. That was pretty cool, man. Dropping a little line from Aggie Memorial Stadium there in Las Cruces, New Mexico. All right, a little overtime here. The Bears don't look now, Hunter, are 2-1. They're tied for first place, by the way, in the NFC North.
I'm not buying it for a second.
I think technically via the tiebreaker, they're in third place. But by record, they are tied for first place at 2-1 through 3 weeks of the season. The Dolphins, Tua, obviously getting a lot of buzz nationally, obviously a ton of buzz here locally. But ESPN, their Football Power Index, they got them as the number one team in the league. You agree, Hunter?
I don't say that they're the number one team. They're playing fantastic. I've felt for a while that Tua and the Dolphins are due for a breakout year. I've been telling a lot of my buddies that over here. And I'm glad that Tua is getting the respect that he deserves. He's a phenomenal quarterback talent, one of the best that's come out of Hawaii, and kind of getting some negative, report just for being an undersized left-handed quarterback that does things a little bit differently. But he can sling it, guys. Shut up. The Dolphins are 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to argue with the success so far, right? Big win against Buffalo. All right, Hunter, that'll do it for us here. Again, big thank you to J.R. Hensley for coming on. Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as we did as well. Big mahalo to Jaron behind the controls, as always, keeping us going, especially with these early morning wake-up calls. He's got us on lockdown, man. Jaron, we appreciate you. Big mahalo to Spectrum Mobile, Hawaii USA, Federal Credit Union, and Battery Bill as well. We'll see you next week, everybody. Enjoy the bye week. I think it's come at the right time for everybody, fans included. Take a little time off. We'll see you back next week on Hawaii Football Now.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helle and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.